Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Casual Sports Podcast. As always, I'm Alek Koberna. That's Matt Morrison. Mike may or may not be joining us later. He's
Might be
running a little
popping in.
late, so he might pop in at some point and left his name in the credits. Might as well. You guys did a great job taking over yesterday for me. I was busy. I couldn't get on in time. I was able to produce. Hope you guys like my little
Yeah.
banners going across the bottom of the screen,
Oh,
adding
yeah.
a little bit of commentary.
A little bit, yeah. And it added a little bit more to the show. I mean, like when we would run out of things,
It was fun
Alek would pop
grabbing the
something
stats
up.
up there and the contracts and
Yeah.
stuff, running around in the
Yeah.
background.
You were still there, but weren't. Yeah, you were like
Right.
a ghost. Yeah.
I was the ghost of podcast pasts.
You're horrible.
I know, but it comes with the territory.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's
All
get
right.
into what we got going on here tonight, Matt. High school basketball. For me, I have the Crestview girls basketball team, who I'm going to be seeing twice this week. We also got them on this Saturday at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, taking on the Brookfield Lady Warriors. But tonight, I got Crestview on the road against my Lady Liberty squad. This Liberty girls team, I talked about them a lot already on the season, 4-0. And they are officially averaging 70 points per game, giving up just 46 points on the other end. They have been phenomenal through these first four games. They've defeated Springfield, McDonald, Struthers, and Western Reserve. It has been a dominating start to the year, and this team tonight is coming in hot, and they're looking to continue this great run. YSN, they put out their power rankings this week. They had them inside the top 5. I imagine after this weekend, there's a chance they could be setting top 3, and in my book, I might have this team top 1. I don't know any other team coming around the valley that's averaging 70 points per game in girls basketball and allowing less than 50 on the other end. A lot of times when you see a team score that many, they tend to be a little lackadaisical on defense, and you get a lot of 70, 60 games. This team is not that, and they have been phenomenal on the defensive end, and they're actually improving with every game. So every game so far in the season, they've allowed less points than the game before. So they continue to just come together as a unit, play better and better every night. The scoring, they went from 64 in that first game. They went up to 73 in the second, 72 in the third, and 71 here in the fourth game. So they're coming in blazing hot. Crestview, they had a terrible start to the season, 0-3. They couldn't get anything going, but they found some life in these last two games against Lipstick and Lowellville, and they've won 2 straight, and they're going to need to win 3 here on the road in a very loud, raucous Liberty Arena there. So it should be a fun one tonight. Everyone should tune in, 7 p.m. YSN Live. And if you're in the area, if you're a Liberty fan, go to this game. This is going to be electric. You're going to see your girls score a lot of points. This Crestview squad doesn't have a lot of height, and I think that's going to hurt them with the way that this Liberty team plays. They like to run downhill, get to the basket, draw fouls, and go over top of players. So to me, Crestview is really going to have to take advantage of any player they have that can match up in size. But, I think the one similarity you have between these teams in the schedule is Springfield. And when this Springfield squad played Crestview, they beat them by nearly 30 points. When Lady Liberty played Springfield, they beat them by 31 points. So if you're going right off of that, this should be a 60-point game here today between the two teams. Now, that's probably not going to happen, but that's what this game looks like. So Crestview is a severe underdog coming into this one against what might be the top team in Division III with Liberty.
Yeah, it sounds like a pretty good game there that's going on. I'd like to tune in, but I have my own game here tonight. I got the Badger girls taking on the Pomatuning Valley Lakers. So I got the Braves and Lakers playing tonight. So Badger, after losing to Bristol 50-33, have pulled off two straight wins, one against Matthew and one against Matthews and the other against Lordstown, putting up 50-plus points in both of those games. They beat Matthews 51-38, which is a rival game right there. And Lordstown, unbelievable. The final score was 55-10. And now they're going in against this Pomatuning Valley team that's 3-1. So this should be a pretty interesting game here to call tonight. And potentially I'm going to have the Badger Athletic Director, Pat Carney, on the call with me tonight. So that would be cool. I've known him for a long time. He's one of my teachers in high school, and he was also my golf coach. And we were talking about it, and he was like, yeah, I might jump on and call with you. I'm like, all right, sweet. It just helps me even better because, you're by yourself, and sometimes it's good to have an insight with you there. So that's going to be cool. if that happens.
Sounds like an exciting game you got going on. Might be a little bit closer than mine here tonight, but we got games going on for the rest of the weekend. So we're going to start off every podcast for the rest of the week. These next 2 days with some high school basketball. Of course, we'll give the recaps as they come. So with that being said, Matt, let's move on to the big game tonight for Thursday night football, 8:20, Minnesota Vikings, Pittsburgh Steelers. Keep in mind, these are the two teams that struggled the most against the Detroit Lions. Minnesota lost to them last week. Pittsburgh tied with them on November 14th. Minnesota actually opened as a 3-point favorite in this game.
And, I mean, the defense here for Pittsburgh, they went insane against the Baltimore Ravens. They have to do that here tonight. Chris Wormley and TJ Watt, those were the two big guys in the Ravens game. I mean, with the tackling wise, I mean, Minka Fitzpatrick had a great game too. Their safeties did pretty good in that game. But these are the two guys that have to get after Kirk Cousins. They got to Lamar Jackson, and Lamar Jackson is probably one of the most elusive and explosive running quarterbacks in the game. And this whole Pittsburgh defense sacked him 7 times. So if you can get to him, it should be a walk through the park on trying to get to Kirk Cousins. Okay. So I know Minnesota, I mean, their line is on and off. And, you know,
and they're on and off, man. This is one of the most on and off teams. And the one big thing, Minnesota in prime time, this is when they have struggled. In the last 10 games, Minnesota is 1-9 against the spread. So that's pretty awful. And they lost to the Lions. To me, if the Steelers lose to the team that lost to the Lions after tying with the Lions earlier this year, Tomlin just needs to go job hunting somewhere else because that is embarrassing. Everyone just needs to retire on that point. This should be a cakewalk for Pittsburgh tonight. They should come out and dominate this game. I mean, you've seen the Vikings not really play great ball. Potential for Dalvin Cook to return here this week, though. So there's a chance we get Dalvin Cook, but he's coming right off an injury. I think he was activated from the reserve today, so it doesn't give much likely that he'll see a lot of playing time if he does, or any meaningful carries. I mean, he'll probably get a few if he ends up playing, but not much. Justin Jefferson is the one guy you really have to be careful for, with Thielen as well. But Jefferson's going off, and you saw Devontae Adams on social media this week. Is like, if you're not paying attention to Justin Jefferson, you better start. And if you have been paying attention, start paying more. He's the real deal. So, I mean, that's coming from one of the best wide receivers in the game. So you got to watch out for what this guy's going to put up tonight. But I got a feeling the Steelers defense, they're going to come to play. They should clamp down here, and they should be able to pull off the win. I got faith in the defense. The offense still worries me, but with the way Big Ben can play, and he has played in these last few weeks, I think I got a little bit more confidence. I want to see them continue to run the football, pound the ground game, rely on those offensive linemen. Best thing an offensive lineman can do is run blocking. Even the young ones, it's what they're taught to do from a young age. It's a lot easier than pass blocking in the NFL. So to me, it's a ground-oriented offense with Big Ben actually pretty much running what the Cleveland Browns do, a lot of play action, getting this defense off guard, because we've seen Minnesota play teams close. So it's going to come on catching the defense off guard, finding ways to get them unprepared and show new things to them in this ball game. But I'm going to go ahead and give my pick. I'm sure it's going to be the same as yours. I got the Pittsburgh Steelers over Minnesota here on Thursday night. Pittsburgh
Steelers, we're going to go off here. We have to be we are known to playing down to our opponents, but we have to keep our composure. Ben played, like you said, decent. He played well enough for them to win. Listen, he may not be able to move around very well. He's not very mobile. He tried to run. I remember when he tried to run and he got hit for a loss. He just tried to take off with it. I'm like, oh, no, he's running. But
every time he starts running, you're like, oh, God, oh, God, oh, God. Just wait until he tries the picket fake slide. The ambulance is wrong call
when he starts running. But
Matt, just wait till he tries the picket fake slide. It's all over.
Big Ben can still sling that football, man. He can.
And most quarterbacks can until they're older. They can sling it. The accuracy is what you see decline. The ability to move around decline. So, I mean, he's going to have that ability to throw until he retires and stops throwing on a daily basis. But the question is everything else in the game, because the mental side's not going to slip for him because he's still only in his 30s. I mean, it's not like he's a 60-year-old man who's losing his memory. You know, he's still a young guy in terms of, you know, the body. It's just old in sports. So, football, he's going to have some athletic ability when it comes to, his style. That's going to be ingrained in him for the rest of his life. I mean, you see even like guys like Bradshaw can still throw the football a decent bit, and they're up there in their 60s, 70s. So.
Drew Brees, Brett Favre too. So Brett Favre
can
still sling it.
Exactly. I mean, obviously just out of the league the last few years, and you saw there at the bottom of the screen, Mike went Steelers as well. We're taking the Pittsburgh boys across the board.
Before we move on, I have to ask you something. We'll make this quick. I know we could probably make a whole discussion out of it. TJ Watt or Myles Garrett, who's better? I know you're a Browns fan.
Who's better?
Who do you think is better?
Who's better, or who is the defensive player of the year?
Give me both.
Defensive player of the year, TJ Watt. More talented, Myles Garrett.
Okay.
Myles Garrett is a freak of nature, incredible athlete, fantastic football player. There's hard to find a single flaw in his game. TJ Watt is the defensive player of the year because he has the greatest front seven in the history of the NFL, potentially. I mean, you look at that front seven group for the Pittsburgh Steelers over this last 5 years. It is designed to get sacks. They've led the NFL in sacks the last 5 years, and he has been a big part of that. Yes, he's also a freak in nature. Him and J.J. Watt are the two of the best sacks guys ever in the history of the NFL. I mean, they both have the same amount of sacks. They sit second and third through their first 62 games in the NFL for that list. So, I mean, they're both fantastically talented. But the thing with TJ Watt is he is in a system designed to put him in the best possible situations, the best matchups to get to the backfield. And that's because he is with one of the greatest head coaches in the game of Mike Tomlin. So, to me, TJ Watt is in the better system, and he is the defensive player of the year without a doubt. To me, I don't think Myles. I keep seeing Myles over him, and I don't understand it. I mean, I like the front four of the Browns, but I think the front seven of that Pittsburgh defense is a lot better. So, once you start adding in those linebackers that come in big, because if those linebackers start blitzing, like you see a lot more with the Steelers than with the Browns, it creates routes for those edge rushers to come around, and that's where TJ Watt finds a lot of his sacks, is when they bring pressure from elsewhere. For some reason, offensive lines either want to put him in one-on-one coverage, or they'll completely forget about him and let a running back take care of him. He's going to steamroll over that guy every time because he does have so many advantages. I
agree with you with that. I had a 10, 15-minute argument with somebody we know from
this is the one. Myles, best defensive end, TJ, best linebacker. So I mean that's the storyline there. So I had a argument with somebody we know. We won't mention his name, but he was like, "Oh, defensive player here, Garrett." I'm like, "Just sit down here." He's like, "Garrett's way better." I'm like, TJ Watt has played 10 games, where Garrett has played 12 games. And stats 16 stats. The biggest thing with comparing stats in this as well is that, one, they play different positions. Yes, they're both technically edge rushers, but Watt's also going to drop back in coverage sometimes too. And the way he's going to line up isn't always going to be at the line. Sometimes he will be sitting back in that second level of the defense with the other linebackers. And to me, the difference is that system fit, because TJ Watt is being involved with a blitz. Most of the time he's getting back there, when he's lining up as the edge rusher, as he normally will. But Pittsburgh tends to bring the blitz a lot more than Cleveland does. And I think that's a big problem Cleveland has, is they struggle to get pressure on the quarterback when it's not Myles Garrett getting back there. And I think that's why he's getting the defensive player of the year nominees, is because he's getting back there without the help of a blitz to create those lanes for him to go through. He's beating the double teams, much like we've seen with Aaron Donald, why, they will get it over TJ Watt, is because of the systems that they are getting those stats produced from. TJ Watt is a lot more favorable for a defensive player than, say, what the Cleveland Browns or what the Rams were using.
Yeah. Well, all right. That's the answer I wanted to hear. We can move on now.
There we go. Well, let's go into college football then. Army versus Navy, the only game we have on this weekend.
Oh, man.
Should be. Go ahead.
That Navy has always had Army's number, but Army is
the last 5 though have been Army, Matt.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I didn't know that. Well,
the last 5 have been Army, but Navy went on that 14-game winning streak in the early 2000s that just got knocked off 5 years ago. They've only won once, and that was in their 2019 matchup. Okay. The 3 before that were all Army, and then this last one in 2020 was Army as well. So you come in here this weekend. This is a game we always love to talk about. We're all a bunch of Navy fans. I think we picked Navy both times. We've talked about this game before, and Derek Bell, let's go Navy. Clearly, there's a lot of Navy fans in this part of the country, and I think this game might hurt because I always pick Army, but you look at these two teams on paper, and it's screaming Army blowout in this one.
It is. And I've always picked Navy. I might have to go somewhere different this year. Army is pretty.
It's going to hurt to pick it too, because I've always picked Navy in this game.
Yeah, and I like Navy. My grandpa was in the Navy. I was before I decided to go down this road of being a broadcaster, I passed my, that you take that test to get into the military, the ASVABs. I don't know if you took it or not, but I passed it, and I was that close to being I passed it, and I was that close to being I'm going to the Navy. I want to join the Navy, and my buddy joined, and he's been in Japan the last 3 years, so I don't want to do that. So I stayed here and went down.
Yeah, mad props to all the military service members that get shipped all over the nation.
Absolutely.
So yeah. But Matt, you look at Army this season. This is one of their best seasons in the last few years. They've actually found a way to get this. Throw the football a little bit, but they do still rely on that ground game. But Christian Anderson, their last game against the Liberty Flames, they won it 31-16, and Anderson went 3 of 4, 102 yards and a touchdown. They still rely heavily on the ground, but you even saw it against Wake Forest. They were able to go through the air. Jabari Lewis threw the ball 9 of 11 times for 140 yards and 3 touchdowns in that game, while they still collected nearly 300 yards. Actually, they collected 416 rushing yards in that game. So this is actually one of the most deadliest, lethal running offenses in the nation. It's a very hard system to stop. Everybody knows the famous triple option that Army and Navy have both run throughout their histories. It's going to be hard to stop. And I think the one thing you look at Army on the season, look at who they've beaten already. You got to talk in September 11th, this really their second game of the season against Western Kentucky, the Hilltoppers. That was a fantastic squad that you saw, all the way down into this conference weekend, who lost to UTSA in their conference championship. Then, they go on and beat Miami of Ohio, who was 1 win against Kent, away from being in the MAC championship. They lose by 6 points to Wisconsin, a team that up until that last week was favored to go to the Big Ten championship. They have that shootout against Wake Forest, and if Army had the defense to keep up and stop Sam Hartman, they probably could have won that game, and that was a team was favored to go to the ACC championship. And then, this team has played phenomenal football all year. They held down this Liberty quarterback and Malik Willis, who is getting a lot of hype around the nation as a potential top pick in this coming year. So this is going to be a huge one coming up this weekend, and a big chance for this offense to show some fireworks.
Yeah, but that Wake Forest game, they lost 70-56, but they put up 56 points. That was the first realization to me, hey, Wake Forest, they don't have a defense. They allowed 56 points against Army.
Right, that was the big surprise, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, yeah. But
and to me, this Army Black Knights team, you look at the rushing yards allowed on the other side against Liberty in this last game. They allowed just 79. This is a very complete unit. They allowed nearly 200 to UMass, and that wasn't great. But, they don't necessarily blow out opponents, but they're going to fight you tooth and nail straight through. And it's going to be, pun intended, warfare in the trenches for Army and Navy this weekend. So to me, you look at this game Saturday at 3 p.m. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to pick Army here. I'm normally a Navy guy.
I'm a Navy guy, too.
My neighbor's in the Navy. My great-grandfather was, in the Navy at D-Day in World War II. So I got a lot of history on the Navy side, and it hurts me to pick Army, but I have to go with what the numbers say. I want my pick to be right, so I'm going to have to stick with Army here.
Yeah, I hate to do it. I just talked about, my Navy Pat. Not really Pat. I almost joined the Navy. I was that close, fingertips away from doing it, but decided against it. But my grandpa's in the Navy, and my grandpa, when he passed away, had boxes full of Navy stuff, hats, sweatshirts, and I don't know what happened to him. I wanted them. I don't know what happened to him, but he had everything Navy. He loved Navy. He loved Notre Dame and Navy. Those were his teams. And, that was part of my life.
Right.
But I gotta go with Army here. They just have the better team, and I think they're gonna win this game. So.
Right, and I'm concerned with Navy's ability to stop that RPO, and that's really what's been, dominating them these last few years. Navy just hasn't had the right reads and the right matchups to combat this Army RPO offense. So, to me, when you combine the defense that's come out of Army this year and the defense that Navy has and the lack of offense that Navy has, it really looks to be a little bit more one-sided than I think, it really should be. And I want Navy to win it. I want them to pull it out.
I'm still going to root for Navy.
I got to go with the numbers here, and the numbers say Army. So
I'm still going to root for Navy, but
and we'll get Mike's pick when he gets in here. This is a big one we love to pick every year on the show.
Yeah, he'll pick Navy.
Not too happy from Derek Bell there. He wants Navy.
Listen, I love Navy. I got to pick the right winner. I've been doing pretty good in picking college football games. Okay,
Matt, we have sucked this week though when it comes to picking games. Basketball flipped us on our head. Texas Tech took down Tennessee in overtime. UConn lost to West Virginia. Indiana lost to Wisconsin. Michigan State ended up beating Minnesota. So we got to step things up. Even in the NBA department, we're all 1-2 this week, so it's not going well for us at the moment.
Yeah.
Things are going to have to turn around. And I finally picked an NHL game wrong. I was doing pretty good on it, but Knights defeated the Stars last night.
So the Knights did beat the Stars.
Yeah, and we all picked Stars on yesterday's show.
Oh, jeez.
Right. So it's going off to a fantastic week already.
And I'll talk about this real quick. That Cavs game last night, unbelievable.
Yeah.
I didn't expect that one bit. The Bulls are number 2 seed, and we just took it to them. What did he say?
He was telling us we're awesome.
All right, sweet. Thanks, buddy. Keep listening.
All right, Matt, let's get into college basketball preview here. This is games Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. There is a loaded slate, so if we have to rapid fire, I'm sorry we can't get to necessarily everything. I had to leave a few games out putting this agenda together because we obviously win a ton of Tuesday, Wednesday games on that Tuesday show, and we have even more here today. So we have to get to this thing. And
let's make some good picks.
Let's start with number 1, Texas versus Seton Hall. Number 7 Longhorns, the number 23 Seton Hall Pirates. Despite these records, this one in Seton Hall as well. At 6:30 tonight. Seton Hall is being picked in the matchup predictor 65%. So it definitely feels like Seton Hall's coming into this one as the favorite, despite the fact that I think this actually would be more of an upset. You've seen a really good Seton Hall team this year, just the one loss, and that one loss came to Ohio State in a 3-point game. Other than that, they have controlled the narrative. They defeated that number 4 Michigan team. They've had an easy slate, though, in this last few weeks, and that bothers me when you come into this high caliber of a game against a Texas team that seems to be finding their rhythm. They haven't lost since Gonzaga in their second game of the season. The biggest problem for them, though, they have also struggled in those last few games here as we bring Mike onto the show. Mike. But as I'm saying here with Texas, they've had a very easy ride as well, and their numbers haven't been great coming out of it. So I'm concerned in this game they're going to start out flat. I think Seton Hall wants this thing a little bit more because, they're not going to have a lot left on their schedule after this. So to me, those next 5 coming up for Seton Hall, it's a little bit more favorable that they can focus all of their energy here, and they're a 1.5-point favorite in this game. So I'm going to go ahead and make my pick quick on this one. I've got Seton Hall over the Longhorns.
I'm taking Seton Hall too. I've talked about how I was kind of uneasy about this Texas team when we were talking about them in our top 10 the other day. And we also talked a little bit about this game, but Seton Hall, the only loss against Ohio State, who also came along, beating Duke. And
they're now number 21 in the nation.
Yep. Yeah, that was a close game, too. I watched that game, and I think I picked Seton Hall in that game. I don't know. Seton Hall
I believe you and Mike both picked Seton Hall against Ohio State in that game.
Hall.
I was the only one who picked the Buckeyes, and then they shocked the world. It was like, oh, my God, yeah. And that was coming right off the loss against Xavier, I believe, too.
Yeah. But I'm definitely taking Seton Hall in this game. I think they can exploit some of the mistakes that Texas has made, and they're going to make it even worse here tonight. I think they have a good, solid team, and I think they're going to run the table on this. Ring that bell. Ring it.
So here's my thing with Texas.
It's dinner time.
Their only losses to number 1 Gonzaga when they were number 1. And, looking at their schedule coming up, this is their toughest game until they start conference play when they start playing West Virginia in the start of the year on the first of the year. So I think this is probably, other than the Gonzaga game, it is their biggest game so far, and it's their biggest game for another few weeks. And I think they know that going in, and I'm going to go Texas in this one. I don't really like the way they're playing, but I just like them over the Seton Hall team.
They can focus in on this game as well, and you think they have the talent?
Mike and his Texas teams.
Shut up.
Well, Mike, we're going to take a step back here and go back to this Army-Navy football game. We want to get your thoughts and your pick on this one because we know we all like talking about it.
Obviously, it's a big rivalry.
Right.
Let me see. Let me pull it up here. It's 7.5 point favorites. Who is that? Army is. Yeah. So
it's definitely a big favor for Army. When you look at their records already, we've talked about it extensively already. Both Matt and I did pick Army going into this game.
I want to pick Army as well. The Navy hasn't done anything this year. They're 3-8. I mean, they normally kind of stink in this game. Isn't this Army favored in this game?
Army is favored, but the last 5 have been Armies. But before that, it was a 14 straight winning streak for Navy.
Right.
How's Navy favored?
Army is favored, Matt.
Oh, Army's favored.
Navy stinks.
Good. Yeah. They're 3-8. Army's 8-3.
But the 7.5 points, that's fine because
I'd say more. I think this Army team's ready to explode. Well, let's get back here into college basketball. Yeah. Iowa versus Iowa State. One of the biggest football rivalries we had hits the hardwood tonight at 9 p.m. Iowa, 5.5 point favorite against the Cyclones here. Cyclones 17th in the nation, 8-0 so far on the season with some big wins over both Creighton, Memphis, and Xavier already. And it's been back-to-back losses for the Hawkeyes here. So they do come in favored, but I think momentum sits in the side of the Cyclones.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it does. They're coming in 8-0, but Iowa's playing good basketball too right now. They're 7-2, and they have, looking at their schedule, they have not really anything impressive, but I mean, they hung in there with number 2 Purdue, who I told you guys I think is the best team in the country.
And Illinois, and it was
just a 4-point loss the other night.
Yeah, so a good Illinois team, but
right.
I mean, obviously, you said Iowa State has the momentum coming in. They haven't really played anybody that great either. But I mean, they beat Memphis when they were number 9, so they have, I guess, more challenges on their schedule, and they've weathered some of that stuff with being. And they beat Xavier at 25, and we talked about a Xavier team that beat Ohio State, so they could scrap. And I think this is a good game coming in. It's a rivalry game. It's 7-2 versus 8-0, so it's a good one coming in. And Iowa State's ranked 17th, so
right. In this Iowa State 5-0 at home, and of course it's at home for the Cyclones. So to me, this is a big test for Iowa.
Who's the guy leading in points or points percentage? You talked about him before for Iowa. Is it
Keegan Murray?
Keegan Murray. This
averaging 23.9 points per game on nearly 60% shooting, 81% from the field. He's also leading the team in rebounds at 8.
This guy has to go off in this game for them to I think when he goes off, everybody else on the rest of the team, like McCaffrey and I like Bohannon on that team too. I think those guys get in the rhythm when Murray goes off. And, he scored 19 points in that last game against the Fighting Illini. But for him, what you said the average was, he has to do that average in this game and just explode. Shoot the ball, pass the ball, just distribute it, do whatever you have to do to get your guys going. Because Iowa State, and this is in-state rival. I bet you tensions are high in this game. They even do it for football too. I mean, game day goes to Iowa State, wherever they're playing. It is a very hyped game because, they're rivals. They're in-state rivals. They don't like each other too much. So Iowa really has to have that momentum to come in here because, like you said, Iowa State, 8-0, they've been running the tables on most of the team. And Iowa, especially coming off the back-to-back losses to, Illinois and Purdue. Purdue, that was a pretty close game. And, Purdue's the number 1 team in the nation, so that's all right. But they have to look at this game and say, hey, we can't just come close. We have to take this game, and we have to take it by at least 10, or 12 points to, get that that acknowledgement that they were getting. So
yeah, Iowa's going to try to beat Iowa State for I think the 4th straight time they said. So, Iowa State's feeling good because they're probably, playing slightly better basketball right now, and they're at home right now, and they know that coming in. They want to end this losing streak against Iowa, and they're in-state rivals, so it's going to be an intense one, Matt, like he's touched on.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you guys go ahead and make your picks? Matt, lead it off. Iowa or Iowa State, the Hawkeyes or the Cyclones?
Yeah, I want to go Iowa here. I really do.
Do it.
So I am. I'm going to go Iowa. I think Iowa's going to come back and beat Iowa State just because.
Mike, I got a feeling you're going the other way on this.
I don't know.
Yeah, you got that feeling. I'm going to go Iowa State because I like them to end up losing streak today. I always try to go for teams that are playing good basketball, playing good in whatever sport it is, and trying to end a losing streak against one of their best rivals. So I'm going to go Iowa State at home.
Right.
Well, I think to me, the biggest problem with this Iowa team was they were playing their best ball against bad teams, right? This was a leader in points per game throughout those first, 7 games. But now these last 2, they've gone up against real opponents and they've struggled. And you can go back to their game against Virginia. They won just 75-74. And on the other side, Iowa State, they've been playing, good ball against some good opponents in Creighton, Memphis, and Xavier. You've seen whether they go high or they go low, they can win games. The points per game differential is the huge thing. But as I alluded to, you saw Iowa lose when they actually played good teams, and they weren't able to score as much as they could against those nobodies. So to me, I think those numbers are going to continue to fall. And unless you see Murray have a big game, I have a big feeling it's going to be the Cyclones' night. 3 straight losses for the Hawkeyes. I'm taking State.
I mean, I agree with you, Alec. They've beaten Xavier and Memphis, both ranked teams in the top 25, and they beat a Creighton team by a decent margin, and a Creighton team that's usually in the tournament, so they're a scrappy team there. So they have better wins than Iowa. I definitely agree with you on that.
All right. Murray State versus Memphis. We get to take a look at that Memphis squad. 4-0 at home. They have a home game. This one tomorrow night against Murray State, who is 7-1. Memphis favored at 76% by voters in this game, but 3 straight losses by the Memphis Tigers to Iowa State, Georgia, and Ole Miss. And you've seen a 4-game winning streak on the other side by the Racers of Murray State. They're being led offensively 18.1 points per game by Tevin Brown, the 6'5" junior out of Alabama, 71% from the free throw line and 51% from the field goal percentage ranking. And on the other side, you're seeing Memphis really struggle with what is potentially one of the top freshmen in college basketball. And this was a guy coming out of high school ranked number 1, Amoni Bates. He's averaging just 11.5 points per game on just 38.5% field goal shooting. So he has really struggled, and he's still this team's leading scorer. And to me, you now have to get into these big games against a team like Murray State, who really probably shouldn't be on their level. But you see coming into this one, it feels like this is a very even matchup because to me, I think Murray State's playing with momentum. They're playing with intensity, just their second road game. So it will be a big test. I'm just interested to see if the defense can lock up Memphis.
Yeah, it's their first road game too, and Memphis has won, I think, their last 4 at home by an average of, and they're scoring about 63 a game, so they're playing well on their home court. Alec coming in, and I think Murray State has to know that. And you ran through the scoring for both teams; it's pretty balanced, especially for Memphis. That's kind of why they've been able to play so good on their home court.
Yeah, I mean Murray State. I mean they're a good producing school. I mean John Morant went there, and they can, if they recruit guys like that. I mean, I think that big run, a couple years ago with John Morant and Murray State in that March Madness tournament, maybe got a couple other players in high school saying, hey, they got good coaching there. They can coach good players. And, if you go there, I mean, it's a small school, but John Morant still went to the NBA, top pick. So if you go there, you're still going to get that chance to be seen by other people. And, that guy you were just talking about, Brown is like a mirror to John Morant, pretty much. Right. Besides, I don't know his dunking ability, but shooting 18.1 points per game, that's similar to what John Morant was doing.
And that's going to be one of the highest marks in the nation as well if he continues that up throughout the season. You don't see many guys going over 20 averagely, so to me, he's going to need a big game. He's going to be the focal point of this offense tonight.
And another strength for Memphis, especially, not just at home, but overall, they've attempted the most free throws in Division I, so they're finding ways to get to the line, draw fouls, and get points at the line. So, they've averaged, I pulled it up here, they averaged 26.3 free throws per game at the line. So they're finding a way to score in different ways and get to the line and draw fouls and put the other team in foul trouble and put pressure on them.
Mike, and to your point there as well, they're great on the other end. They're averaging almost double digits in steals at 9.3, and they're averaging just under that in blocks at 8.3. This is a very strong team defensively, and that's where they've been winning games. I'm just curious to see how that's going to translate because we've seen them in these last 2 games not really have those kind of numbers against Ole Miss, against Georgia, against Iowa State. And then even in that close one against Virginia Tech, they've had a hard start to the season. They were ranked high, obviously, early, and they had some really tough opponents going up against them the entire way through. So to me, they're coming into this one not necessarily as underdogs, but they're coming into it as more feeling like they need this. It's desperation mode for Memphis here because they're in danger of slipping this season away with one of the best talents in college basketball with Moni Bates.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, why don't you lead off the picks here? Murray State or Memphis?
I'm going to roll with Memphis. I'm going to stay with the hot home team. I like I said, I like the way they've played at home, and I like, the way they try to beat you in different ways and put you in trouble. Like I touched on with getting to the free throw, and I think they're going to do that tonight with Murray's or tomorrow night, right? Yeah, with Murray State, and I think they're going to win one at home.
You got the 4-0 record at home. I think that really takes into consideration here. Like, hey, they're good at home, not so good on the road though. But Murray State, they're 1-0 on the road. I mean, and they could very well go 2-0 here. So, I mean, I like the guy. I like Brown. Yeah, I got to do it. At Murray State, I think the Racers are going to race all over the Tigers, and I think they're going to beat them pretty good.
Oh man, this one is a hard game.
Tough.
Yeah,
it's tough.
And you know what?
Memphis is 5-3, but
I'm just going through the board when Mike has picked differently than us. He tends to be wrong. So Matt, I think I'm going to roll with you here. I think I'm going to go Murray State as well.
Racers.
That means I should start picking with you guys because if you guys are both wrong, that means that I don't lose anything. I don't lose ground if we're all wrong.
Mike, this is what you need, man. You need wins. So going against it might just help you get back in the race here in the late stages. All right, let's go through this one here. Ohio State versus Wisconsin. And one of the biggest games, I think, of the Big Ten season early on. Ohio State, 71.9% in the matchup predictor here by ESPN based on the Basketball Power Index. Points per game has been higher for Ohio State, and you've seen Ohio State really have a multitude of scorers. Obviously, E.J. Liddell averaging almost 20 points per game on 55% shooting. He's also their leading rebounder, but also recently, they came in a close game last night against Towson. It was a 1-point game going into halftime. They had the lead. They closed it out. In that Towson team, they were playing like Oral Roberts. They couldn't miss a 3 to save their lives, and they came out of that game. Ohio State narrowly escaped. But Zed Key now has shown he's one of those elite scorers. Mike, you touched on it, that they didn't know if they were going to have one of those guys that could take over a game consistently. And it turns out to be Liddell and Zed Key seeming to be that duo pair for Ohio State this season. Because of that, and because this is my team, you guys know I have to take the Buckeyes. I got Ohio State. Yeah. I got them in a close one here against Wisconsin.
And I think I'm going to roll right with you. I think, you talked about Zed Key. That guy is becoming a major key to this team. So, I mean, he's been playing good. So, as long as he's rolling and playing pretty good, I mean, you saw him in the Duke game, unbelievable. And I think he's going to take it into this Wisconsin game and be like, hey, Wisconsin, I mean, we just beat Duke here. So, what can you do against us? They have that high horse kind of coming into this game. And, I mean, they can't get that in their heads too much, but I don't think they will. They've been a hard-nosed basketball team throughout this whole year. Yes, they lost the Xavier game, but after that, it's like they haven't even looked back on that game. I bet you they don't even remember that game,
right? Because
they've been keeping forward. So I got to go the Buckeyes.
Mike,
Matt, I agree with you. I think I'm going to go Ohio State.
All right.
I think I watched them the other night against Penn State. They, obviously love C.J. Liddell and Alek. You're right. I even heard people on TV. I was questioning who's going to step up from the scoring, and it's been Zed Key. But Matt, however, let's not act like Wisconsin has beaten anybody. They beat a good Houston team, so let's not act like they're just Ohio State's way better than them.
I know.
21 and 22. It's right close.
Oh yeah, and they're good too.
But I think Ohio State's starting to find some stuff.
They are.
Who's the shooter that they have? Young. I feel like he's been there for like 10 years. And he's still consistently knocking down shots. And they've been finding other younger guys that you don't know of that are coming off the bench knocking down shots. And so he
feels like the Kevin Love of Ohio State.
He kind of reminds me of what was his name? The guy from like 2011.
Aaron Craft.
Aaron Craft. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of Aaron Craft a little bit.
Mike, I was saying he reminds me of Ohio State's version of Kevin Love. He's just sitting around. He'll go play big for you whenever he feels like it.
That's a good comparison. But I mean, they're getting offense, and also in that Penn State game, maybe it's because it was his return, but Jamari Wheeler's starting to play better basketball too. He's starting to not even just shoot well, but he's starting to get the ball to other players and get the ball down low to EJ Liddell. So I think they're starting to figure things out, and I think they're going to win this game.
All right, 7 games left on our slate. Let's take a look ahead to Saturday. The Creighton Blue Jays hosting the BYU Cougars. Guys, thoughts on this one? How about we go quick picks on here?
Oh, you want to do it right out the gate?
Yeah, go right out the gate. Hit it hot.
I'm going with the Blue Jays.
When is this?
I'm going with the Blue Jays.
Saturday.
What, Matt?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm gonna go Creighton too. I think they can pull this off. BYU still a solid team, 8-1, but Creighton, 7-2. I think they have. I don't know. Creighton's always pulled off some wins, like crazy wins, and I think this.
And you saw BYU lose just the other week to Utah Valley. So I mean, that was the game I said Utah Valley. Look out, that could be an upset here. I'm not going to say it this time. I got BYU. They're the favorite, 74% by the Basketball Power Index matchup predictor. And I'm gonna roll with that. They're pretty much better in every statistical category, and I'm gonna roll with that here. I'm gonna see if that can pull off the win. 2-game win streak for them, 1-game losing streak for Creighton. I got BYU in this. The Cougars.
All right.
Well, next one up, Arkansas, Oklahoma. A game that probably could be a top 25 matchup after this week. The Razorbacks at 9-0 are actually the underdogs this Saturday against the 7-2 Oklahoma Sooners. I disagree with that. I think this Arkansas team is a fantastic group. Yes, they haven't really played anybody, and that's hurting them right now, but they're still averaging 83 points per game, 40 rebounds per game. And I think that's the big number that I haven't really seen on a lot of these other teams. You see a lot of 36s, 35s, 38s on the higher end, but this squad's coming in with 40 points there, 40 rebounds, pardon me, and their steal ability is fantastic. The one problem, I want to see them get more blocks. They're not very physical down low, but they have what it takes. And I'm going to go quick pick on this one as well. I got Arkansas going to 10-0.
I gotta go Arkansas here as well. I like this Oklahoma team. I like what Porter Moser, and I've talked about him before, former Loyola coach. I like what he's building here at Oklahoma, but I think he still has that building to go on here. It's his first year here in Oklahoma, and I think he needs to build a little bit more chemistry with his guys and get his recruiting in more too, because it's still the previous coach's recruiting mostly from those top guys. So I think he needs to get in with the system a little bit more. So I got to go Arkansas here. They're rolling.
I haven't picked a road team yet, so I'm going to go Arkansas. But I like what you said about the rebounding, Alek. Yeah. And I just question if Oklahoma's going to have enough to, stay on the rebounding tally with, Arkansas. Can they keep up with the rebounding with Arkansas? Right. So that's my one concern with them, and I don't know if they can, so I'm going to go Arkansas. Games.
All right, well, next one up on our slate, UCLA versus Marquette. We can slow it down and take a look at this one here. Number 4, Bruins, 7-1, favorite at 70.5% by that matchup predictor. Uzang, 17.1 points per game. Marquette on the other side, 8-2, 5-0 at home. This one on Fox 230 this Saturday. These teams seemingly pretty even when it comes to statistical analysis. But obviously this UCLA team is very good, and I think both of you guys are probably going to go that way with them. But I don't know if UCLA has the consistency in my book, because you look at what they've done on the season, they don't really have a super impressive win in these last 5. They've really not played anybody great. It was a close game against Colorado, and that concerns me. Obviously, that Colorado squad had a good run in the Pac-12 last year, but it's not like they're a team that's producing a lot of big talents out of college, but they feel a lot like Purdue and Iowa. They're just sticking around, producing low-level guys that play as total teams. So I think they have that, but I feel like this Marquette squad, they got something special again this year, and they got a chance with Justin Lewis leading them, the freshman at 6'7", with 15.7 points per game and nearly 8 rebounds as well. So I think this squad is very strong, but as again, you saw with that Arkansas squad before, UCLA are also averaging up in 40 rebounds per game, but Marquette right behind them at 37. So very close statistical analysis there.
Mike,
I'm just worried with UCLA that we're still kind of helping them up a little bit. They're still a good basketball team, and you got to give them credit for that. But I just feel like Marquette coming in, they look at some of the game. They beat Illinois by it was a point, but you beat Illinois and they were 10th at the time. You beat a West Virginia team that's they're always tough, led by Coach Huggins. And I mean they hung in there for the most part against Wisconsin. They pulled away at the end, but I just feel like Marquette's playing better basketball, and I kind of like them to win this game. I know you kind of thought I was going to go UCLA, but I'm going to switch it up and go to Marquette.
Fair enough here. Well, I think one thing, you look at those win-losses for Marquette, I think the biggest question mark comes up against that St. Bonaventure squad. I mean, that was a 70-54 loss for them, and Bonaventure on the other side. They're 8-1 right now, and they have UConn coming up this weekend, what should be a fantastic game as well on Saturday.
They're a team to look out for. Watch out for the St. Bonaventure team. I was just looking at their schedule here. I mean, watch out for them. They might make a run.
This could be an upset central place as well. I mean, UConn and Virginia Tech in their next two. And I like that matchup against Dayton as well. So I think a lot of favorable games here at the beginning of their schedule. And they can really ride the high coming off this great start. I mean, they already beat Clemson, Boise State. So some big wins, obviously, over Marquette. And the UNI loss will, hurt on the way across this season. But Bonaventure has a chance this year.
Yep. But I'm gonna go Marquette here as well. I'm gonna go Golden Eagles here. I like what they've been doing. They lost to Wisconsin, but their last one they picked up against Kansas State by 1 point. But that just shows the fight in them, and I think they're gonna take it to them. And this is the first of the next three big games here. I mean, they got to play Xavier and then UConn, and I even look at the that St. John's game as a big game. So.
Against the Red Storm. Well, you mind this one in Wisconsin this weekend. Potential big storm rolling through the area across the country. The cold fronts, the snow. Can the Bruins play in the icy conditions? It's inside, so thankfully that'll play to their benefit. You guys both take Marquette here. I have to roll with the favorite. I got to go UCLA here. And someone's got to pick them. We can't all go upset across the board here. I initially had Marquette written down. I like the momentum they had coming in, but with you guys both going Marquette, so someone's got to flip up here. So I got UCLA taking this game. Obviously, Juzang has been huge already on the season, and they'll get the benefit of a win from Washington in the postponement game because that one canceled because Washington's having COVID issues. So to me, UCLA, they're going to be the favorite, and we should pick them until they decide to stop being that favorite. At one point, this was a team we all had in contention to potentially be a number one seed coming in through the year. So I'm going to take the Bruins. Next game on the list, Arizona versus Illinois. A big one here for the Big Ten. And I like this matchup coming into it between these two teams. What are your guys' thoughts?
This is going to be a pretty big game. This is a game that Illinois, they've dropped some games. They have to jump back in and say, hey, we're still a competitive team, and we have to take it to Arizona because Arizona has been really playing very, very well this season. So they have to be like, hey, if we don't win this game, we don't know what we're going to do because we can't compete against good teams. So they have to step it up and come into this game and be like, it's now or never. I know it's early, but you can very well lose the season in the early months.
Lose the momentum of the season at least.
Yes. So,
you look at Illinois' losses. They lost to Marquette. There's really no shame in that. It was only by a point. You could probably point to the Cincinnati one being a disappointment. They got blown out by 20 to Cincinnati. But other than that, they started to pick things up. And their last win was against Iowa, a team we were just talking about that is a good basketball team. And they just beat them by 4 points. But, Arizona, they're ranked number 11 for a reason. You look at their schedule. They beat number 4 Michigan when they were number 4. They have some other good ones on their schedule. So I think it's pretty evenly matched for, Illinois not being what they were last year and for them not being on the same level, at least record-wise and ranking-wise as Arizona. But, I think this is a pretty even one. I think it's going to be a fun one to watch.
Well, my thoughts on this one is Arizona. I had them ranked number 7 in my polls this week. I have a belief in them. They are the underdogs in this matchup. Somehow, based on the Basketball Power Index, Illinois favored at 67.7%. But I got Arizona, the number 1 scoring team in the nation right now, and they've been doing it against some pretty good opponents. Near 30-point wins in their last 2, and then you got to look at the 50-point near win on November 27th against Sacramento State. Obviously not a great team, but in order to beat anybody 105 to 59, you have to be pretty good at what you're doing. I like this team as a total unit. Obviously, 8 straight wins to start off the year, and they've had some impressive ones in there. I got the Wildcats taking it over Illinois.
And Alek, you brought up their scoring too. They put up 80 on Michigan at Michigan,
right.
80-62.
And they nearly won by 20 in that game. It was a 17-point win.
And for that, I think that's going to continue this game. And I like them to get another one on the road in the Big Ten. This is their second Big Ten road game. I'm going to roll with Arizona.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like to go against the Big Ten. I mean, I think they're a tough division here, and Illinois is going to show some fight in this game. Got to go with you guys. Got to go Wildcats.
Well, all right. Houston versus Alabama. We've seen the Crimson Tide play good in football this year, obviously. A trip to the college football semifinal coming up in just a couple of weeks here, but now their basketball team producing similarly as well. They got the number 14 Houston Cougars, who have yet to play a road game on the season, or a true road game thus far. Crimson Tide 4-0 defending home turf, and they also pick up a win against Gonzaga just 5 nights ago. This game coming on Saturday as well, late night at 10 p.m. Shackelford, the leading scorer for the Crimson Tide at 19.3. I think he's going to be a big guy coming out of this year's draft. He's a junior. He's got that experience rolling with this team so far. They've had some nice wins, and they have a questionable loss against Iona. Houston, on the other hand, just a 2-point loss to Wisconsin. They destroyed Oregon, destroyed them 78-49. You know, they just beat the Bryant Bulldogs as well, who are 4-6, 111-44. This has been an immaculate unit so far for Houston, and they are favored to win this on the Basketball Power Index. So, to me, Alabama fighting an uphill battle coming into this win. Houston averaging double digits right now and steals at 11.
Yeah, I mean, this Houston team 8-1. I mean, their only loss against Wisconsin, and that was by 2 points. 2 points. And this game is going to be, I mean, it's being hyped up. I mean, that's why we're talking about it. I mean, this Alabama team, a pretty good team. They're ranked 9. We've talked about them. Alek, you thought they were hyped up a little too much, though, right?
Yeah, I thought Alabama, once again, a little bit overhyped. I think I'm waiting for them to get one of those big wins. And that comes here against Houston. If they pick that win up, I'll give them the respect. I'll put them in my top 10 because Houston, right before that loss, you know, I had this as a top 10 team. They disappointed me a little bit with that loss, but, you know, I'm actually going to roll with them here. I'm taking the Cougars to win this game.
Yeah, I'm going to roll with the Cougars here, too. I mean, it's kind of an upset if they win. I know they're ranked 14th right now, but Alabama is a team that can be upset. They were already upset by Iona. And there's another team. There's another team with St. Bonaventure. Look out for this Iona team. Rick Pitino.
There's a lot of the smaller schools this year that could have some big runs in the tourney. I wouldn't count out any big upsets this year. We might see another number 1 seed go down, and I'm not joking.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's bound to happen in college basketball. It's been that way for the last few years. That's kind of been the trend.
It feels like upsets are happening more and more, and you saw that with UMBC, and that wasn't a fantastic UMB squad, but they had all the matchups, and I think that's what it's going to come down to when those brackets come in mid-March, and we're going to get down into some absolute madness. And I think there's even possibilities with this year. I think the top 4 hasn't been extremely strong, that one of these top 4 teams can lose in the first round, and potentially even multiple number 1 seeds go down early in the playoffs this year.
Yeah, but so I'm going to go Houston here as well. But look out for Iona, led by Rick Pitino, who, I mean, the resume is there. I mean, 2-time NCAA tournament winner, even though the one was vacated. He led Louisville to, I mean, he was there for years, and you know, he was not around, and they finally let him back in. So,
all right, Mike, go ahead and make your pick here.
I was going to pick Houston, but we keep picking the same teams. I feel like we got to change it up. I'm going to go Alabama just for that reason. I'm not really sold on them either, but I mean, you know, they're ranked, they're in the top 10, and they got to win over Gonzaga. You could say what you want about Gonzaga and them potentially being overrated, but that's still a good win. So I'm gonna go with them at home.
Well, good job there, Mike. The last 6 you had matched up evenly with Matt there, so you had to flip it up at some point.
It's getting too
How about
boring
this one? Purdue
team.
versus NC State, a huge one this weekend, and the Boilermakers first place, obviously. We're running out of time here, so I'm going to go ahead and make a quick pick. I say Purdue wins this big, and I think they remain number 1 in our polls come next week.
Purdue, you know how I feel about them. I think they're the best team, so I'm rolling with them.
I say Purdue as well here, too. But NC State, got to watch out for them.
Well, let's get down to our final game of the week here for college basketball. Villanova versus Baylor Sunday, ABC 3 p.m. game. Baylor right now favored at 64% by the BPI matchup predictor. These two teams feel very even. 5-0 at home, though, for the Baylor Bears. 1-1 on the road for the Villanova Wildcats. This game could end up being a lot closer than I think some experts may predict. Obviously, Villanova is a top 6 team right now. They ranked at 6. And Baylor, they're second, coming off that championship last year. To me, Baylor's the champ until they ain't. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt here because they haven't shown any signs of weakness so far. I haven't really seen a bad game in which it's cost them. I mean, even the 8-point win against VCU didn't hurt them that much. And that VCU squad, not bad, not great. They're 5-4, but they've had a tough schedule already. So I like Baylor. They're obviously 11.5 steals. They're one of the top rebounding teams in the nation, and they're shooting at a 48.3% mark while having one of the best defenses as well, allowing just 56.4 points per game against.
Villanova, I've had them in my top 10. I want them to be out of my top 10, and this is the game where it's really going to solidify my reason to take them out of the top 10. Baylor is going to run the tables. Villanova, I don't think they're all there. I think they've cupcaked through some games, and I think Baylor's going to really show that you can't cupcake through games, especially games like this. So Baylor's going to win this game.
I don't know if I'd say that cupcake through them. I mean, yeah, they lose to Purdue, but Purdue's the best team in the country in my mind, and they beat a good 17-ranked Tennessee team at the time. And, Syracuse, I know they had the big run last year. It might not be the same, but they beat them too, I think Tuesday it was. But so I wouldn't say the cupcake, but Villanova is a team I've liked in college basketball the last few years, and I think they're gonna win this game, so I'm gonna roll with them.
I like them too. I like Jay Wright, but I don't know.
There's a team I like. I don't. I'm gonna roll with them. I think Baylor, like you said, though, out they're between them and Purdue, it's pretty neck and neck between the best in the country.
Right, and I think potentially the win here from Baylor, if they blow out Nova, I think could elevate them to number 1 next week. But I feel like throughout the rest of the season, it's going to be Baylor and Purdue at number 1. I'm worried about Purdue, though, come Big Ten schedule, because that tends to be brutal every single year for whichever team comes in number 1 at Big Ten. There's always another Big Ten team that matches up just perfectly with them, and it ends up with a loss. Matt, this is the second time you've gone against Nova this week. We'll see if it goes against you because you picked Syracuse to take the win. They didn't end up happening. Nova took it. And Matt, right now, you're 2-5 this week in college basketball so far on picks. I'm not too much better. I'm 3-4. So we win against each other a lot here today. So we're gonna find out which one of us knows their stuff or just could guess a little bit better.
Gotta catch some ground.
Let's see here.
All right. Well, that is going to do it here for another edition of the Casual Sports Podcast. Power Hour coming up next here. It's been a fantastic one. We'll be back tomorrow with the recap of the Steelers and the Vikings, more high school basketball, obviously our big NFL preview, and our 2 big awards, our highlights of the week, and, of course, Matt's meathead of the week. Matt, I think we got some good candidates coming down once again. But I'm Alek Koberna. That's Matt Morrison and Mike Wolfgang. Power Hour coming up next. We will see you all tomorrow.